So for this video, I'm going to check out more games which are just screaming out for a 60 frames a second update or to become Series X and S enhanced and get upgrades. And these games will cross a number of genres. Some are extremely well known, others have been somewhat forgotten about, and the others simply didn't get the attention I feel they deserved, but that changes with this video. I'll also talk about what other updates the game may need as well, so that gamers can experience them firing on all cylinders. All of these titles are excellent, so definitely check them out. But of course, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share the video around, and let me know which games need the 60 frames a second love or resolution increase the most for you. Plus, in the description is a link to the Discord server to talk everything Xbox and gaming. So with that, let's get stuck in. Starting at number 10, we have the excellent Prey from Arcane Studios, and this still doesn't get the attention it deserves, and I'm hoping we get another game in this series soon. But Prey is a fantastic looking game with some great level design, which does have you backtracking, but it isn't detrimental to the game, and that can't be said for many games that incorporate this sort of design. If this game could have an increase to its resolution, or even have higher quality textures, then it would just improve on what is already a great looking game. It's just rooted in last gen. But then the biggest enhancement that Prey needs is with the frame rate, where the game could really struggle on the base Xbox One, and this improved with the One X, but it's obvious what it needs. It's the 60 frames, which would just make the whole game sing so much more. If all of this was included, it would elevate Prey even more and make its intriguing story and sci-fi horror-like setting even better. This is definitely worth playing even as it is though. Up at number 9 we have the Elder Scrolls Online, and this game has come so far since its troubled launch all the way back in 2014. So much has changed and been added. ESO is simply an incredible game now from anyone who's into MMOs and having more quests to do than they could ever dream about. Adventuring in co-op as you level up characters and visit so many different places all over Tamriel is just awesome. It's like the game that almost never ends, as even if you get through the massive amount of content, there's always different characters to create amongst the different races, and if you'll favour magic or swords and all the rest. Elder Scrolls Online can still look good at times in terms of visuals, and it gets extra points for just how many different diverse areas there are. But this struggled on the Xbox One and performed better on the One X, but if you were in a large area with many enemies and effects all happening at once, then the frames would drop. This needs a 60 frames a second mode. It would be great if the developers could make over some of the visuals as well, especially pushing out the detail at distance, as it can be quite foggy at times. The type of fog used to increase performance, not atmospheric fog. Hopefully it gets an update, but even if it doesn't, this is still a fantastic game. For number 8, we have the great Deus Ex Mankind Divided, another game or series which doesn't get the recognition it deserves amongst many console gamers, and also check out Human Revolution as well, and you can play that via backwards compatibility as well. And it's also excellent and perhaps even better than Mankind Divided, and the series has you playing in this futuristic sci-fi augmented reality setting as you follow the story and use the freedom within the environments and gameplay mechanics to craft a style of play that you're after. It can be quite a beautiful looking game at times, and it's noticeable how the visuals improved a lot from Human Revolution. Everything still holds up quite well today, and the biggest improvement it needs is an increase to the frame rate, as there were dips and stutters on last gen systems, and the Xbox Series X did iron out some of these a bit, but the game is still locked to 30 frames, which is a shame, as that increased frame rate would really just improve moving around this beautiful world. Having seen this running on a high-end PC, I want that experience brought to consoles, as it's fantastic and the first time a console could deliver something similar with the Xbox Series X. Such a great series. Next at number 7 we have Left 4 Dead 2, an older game from the Xbox 360 days and one which still gets spoken about today. And yeah, it does look quite dated overall, with character models and animations that are very much what we had from that generation, plus basic environments overall with buildings which resembled cardboard cutouts with interiors which were incredibly basic. But this co-op zombie kill fest really just needs one update to make me happy, and that is having it run at 60 frames a second. Sure, it would be great to have more polished visuals and higher resolutions, but this really struggled on the Xbox 360, and even playing it today via backwards compatibility will have you wanting this to receive the upgrade treatment, but it's heavily unlikely due to its age really. But when the action heated up with lots of zombies on screen, especially in more open environments, and all 4 players blasting, shooting and throwing explosives around the place, then the frame rate can nosedive even on the Series X, and it never really feels smooth, and it's just one of those games where it's obvious it's aged heavily. There is still a lot of fun to be had, but you'll be thinking about just how much better it would be if it received the enhanced treatment as well. Coming in at number 6, we have Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and we can already get a great idea of just how good an Assassin's Creed game can perform at 60 frames, as Valhalla already has that option for a 60 frames a second mode, and it's just so impressive. Seeing the Xbox Series X and the S just throwing around huge open worlds at double the frame rate is a game changer for consoles, and hopefully this improved performance will become commonplace this gen. Now, I wasn't in love with Odyssey, but I do prefer it over Valhalla, as I preferred its story, thought it was better paced, and I prefer Odyssey's world over that of Valhalla as well. But all Assassin's Creed games have been pretty damn good when it comes to graphics and worlds, and just like Valhalla, when you're adventuring either on land or on the sea, when the lighting hits the world just right, it can look downright insane. This game is absolutely massive as well, and will take you dozens and dozens of hours to get anywhere near to finishing it. If this could get a slight leg up in terms of other visual details that the PC version has, plus the bump in the frame rate, then I can see many people going back to it, including myself. The world was huge, beautiful, and colourful. For number 5, we have Journey to the Savage Planet, and if you haven't played this game at all, then I suggest to go and check it out, as it looks beautiful. I just love its art style, which blends realism with a more cartoonish look, and it just works incredibly well. Up close, the environmental textures look good, but the game really shines when it's looking off into the distance at just how this world is laid out. It's quite unique and is great to play in, but of course, it is hampered by its 30 frames a second frame rate, which doesn't stay all that locked. And yes, it's better on the One X, but this really needs to increase to make the whole game just be so much better to play. Having these environments and things off in the distance all the while whilst running at 60 frames a second would just be fantastic. And then there is the first person shooter side of the game, which would of course benefit from this. This isn't a Twitch style shooter where you need incredible reflexes and aiming or anything like that, but it still would benefit greatly from the increased performance and an overall higher resolution. It has some good humour in it too. Let's hope it gets enhanced. Bit of an underrated gem in my opinion. And at number 4 we have Remedy's Quantum Break, and I firmly stand in the camp of those gamers that thought this was excellent and had some unfair criticism. Sure, it did have the TV style episodes included, which I didn't mind. They neither made the game better or worse, but I did enjoy its story, as I always do with Remedy games. Quantum Break has great fast combat with your typical weapons here to take down the enemies, but it's the powers mixed in with the action which sees you slowing down time or quickly dashing from one spot to another, putting up a shield around you, and then using all of these plus the firearms in dispatching the groups of enemies that are thrown at you. The game still holds up today, but it could still really benefit from a higher resolution, as this was quite low on the base Xbox One with its 720p resolution, and the One X improved upon this, making it run at 1440p, but this really needs a native 4K, and if and when that gets coupled with the 60 frames a second mode, then it would transform the game both from a visual and performance standpoint, but it would make the already good and fun combat just become so much more tight and responsive. I don't think the game will get the enhancements I want. Even so, it's worth playing for anyone who may have skipped this last gen. Up at number 3 is the Orange Box, and in particular Half-Life 2, and this makes it so far up the list for 2 reasons. Firstly, the game was excellent when it first released all the way back in 2004 and deserves to be played for anyone with even a passing interest in first-person shooters and how they evolved over the years. But secondly, and probably more importantly, is that the Xbox 360 version of the game is pretty damn mediocre when it comes to performance, and the game would be transformed by simply having a much higher and smoother frame rate. Playing via backwards compatibility, the game really struggles to maintain a consistent 30 frames, so you aren't just fighting the enemies, you're constantly fighting with the performance, and it just brings the entire feel of the game way down. Half-Life 2 on the Xbox 360 was also littered with regular in-level loading screens, where when you passed a certain point, the entire game would freeze for a few moments with a loading bar appearing on the screen, further ripping you out of the experience. It would be great to get a massive jump in resolution, but the main area that needs the attention is the frame rate, which would just make this so much more enjoyable to play. Next at number 2 is Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption 2, the game which seriously has no damn right to look this amazing on last gen systems. Even on the base Xbox One, sure, it had its issues with resolution and the frame rate getting hit hard, but it was still a great looking game, and that increased dramatically on the Xbox One X with a 4K resolution and some smoothing out of those areas where the frame rate would be hit hardest. But RDR2 really is a game that's punching well above its weight, and what Rockstar achieved on those systems is downright masterful, but the game is just screaming out for a 60 frames a second mode, which would make all of these beautiful rolling hills, small towns, great looking NPCs and everything else just get pulled into next gen with a bang for new console owners. The only area which really needs the improvement is the frame rate, as textures, lighting, the effects such as dirt, fog, smoke, character and facial animations are all excellent and will still be impressive in years to come. It just all needs to run much smoother and what these next gen systems are capable of. Many gamers will no doubt be revisiting it if the enhancements do come. A fantastic game made even better. And closing out the list at number 1 is From Software's Dark Souls 3. A brilliant game in terms of its visuals, level design, enemy design, weapon design, and all the rest, and the one area which needs improving the most is definitely the frame rate and the frame pacing. On last gen consoles, the PS4 Pro received an update that unlocked the frame rate, and even though it never really reached that 60 frames a second mark, the fact that it had the option can be seen today with the new more powerful systems, and now it's time for Xbox to get the same treatment. I was playing this earlier in the year on the Series X and the frame rate never reaches a smooth 30 frames a second, and there's all kinds of stuttering and frame drops everywhere, and when it affects the gameplay so much, especially in games such as this, it really needs an update and for Dark Souls 3 to shine once again. An upgrade to the resolution and texture quality would also be great, but the game does still look good with a fantastic visual design that is so From Software. An amazing game, we just need to see its next gen potential fulfilled. So there are some awesome games which need some next gen upgrades and enhancements to really put the power of the Xbox Series X to use, including those that are backwards compatible, but which games are you really hoping get the next gen enhancements and why? But as always, if you please could, hit the thumbs up, share the video, leave a comment down below and join up to the Discord. I appreciate all of the support over the last few months especially, and as always, I'll see you on the next video.